Hello and welcome to the Sport Walk Trail blog. It's a Sunday afternoon and it's a bit strange for me to be training on a Sunday afternoon, but hey, that's just what happens. So for today's session I've come to one of my favourite enclosures in the forest, Wilverley. It's kind of in the middle. If you were to look at a map, it's kind of right in the centre of the forest. But it's quite a large enclosure and it has a lot of really great scope. There are the gravel forestry tracks that I'm sticking to religiously because of all the rain we've had. But equally there's lots of single track going into the woodlands. But the thing I love about it most is that this is a fir plantation. So 365 days a year, it feels like Christmas. So we are now firmly in March. It's the best time of the year, isn't it? I think for me, I don't know about you, but the period from February to the end of June is quite possibly the best period in the whole year. What I love about it is that sense of anticipation and the sense of potential. But above all else, when we get to March, this is the time, we call it the spring transition. It's the time where all the kind of freestyle work you do in the winter, where you're just literally going out walking, seeking to do some fairly long walks to build your endurance, to sort of base layer endurance. Come the spring, especially if you've got some big summer challenges lined up, that's the time to make that transition to more structured work. And by structured work, I don't mean that you're then burdened with this overbearing schedule of things you have to do. No, it's that the work you do, the walking you do, serves a purpose, and serves a very clear purpose in helping you to achieve your challenge goal. So, for instance, if you're taking on a challenge, doing an event, and you have a goal that you want to complete it in a certain time, you'll know that you have to be walking at a certain pace to achieve that. So this is the point where you start to build much more structure into your training sessions, into your everyday sport walking, to help you achieve that goal. What's great about the spring transition, again, it's the same as with springtime itself. It's that sense of anticipation and sense of potential. It is true that you start to possibly work a little bit harder, but the work is much more focused, and you also start to feel the progress that you're making. So it's a very exciting time, I think. Certainly for me it is. Can't you tell how excited I am? I'm absolutely beside myself with excitement. Well, I would be if I was fitter than I am, but there you go, that's another story. But I'm working on it. So if you're not quite in the place that you would hope to be, or if your fitness is not what you would like it to be, don't worry. I feel your pain. But equally don't worry, because it will come back to you. You will get over it. Will you just look at this? What a beautiful trail. The scent is just divine. I just can't get enough of it. Right, I feel I've probably stayed about as long as I can on these wonderful forestry gravel tracks. I've reached the point in the route where I'm going to have to go off-piste and potentially grab a little mud. Let's see what condition it's in. This is the bit that I really love about this enclosure. Also, how it transitions from fir trees to beech woodland. Such elegant trees. Anyway, this is not an arboreal lecture. This is a training session and trail block, so let's crack on. So I'm now heading across to the open part of the Wilverley Enclosure, which is heathland, and a bit of trail that I'm hoping is in good enough condition to walk through because it's lovely, and it's a bit of trail that reminds me of the Cairngorms, especially the forest tracks in the valleys around Aviemore. So whenever I walk this trail, I project myself into the Highlands, back up to Scotland. Yes. Oh, right. Fed up of that. Okay. I know when I'm beat. This, I have to say, this is what I was expecting, because although these trails they're in good condition and they are not widely used, but used enough, and we've had so much water that it's just impossible for paths like this that are unmade to stay free of mud. Successfully made it. Now we break out onto the open land, onto the heathland. So what do you need to know for your spring transition, for you to make it work for you? Well, basically it's about understanding what you're trying to achieve in the summer, what your goals are, what your targets are, and then working out what you need to do to be in the right shape to achieve that. So if you've, for instance, got yourself a goal for a particular event and it's really important to you, it's vital that you head into that challenge in exactly the right shape that you need to be in, so that it is possible for you to achieve what you're setting out to do. And then you basically work back, and that's how you understand what you should be doing at various points along the way. And especially when you get to springtime, you know, building more structure into your walking, focusing more on outcomes for the long term rather than just simply how much you've done that day and then just that's it. It's where you start to stitch together all the different sessions, all the different walks. You start to stitch them together so that they actually all together work for the end goal that you're trying to achieve. The other thing that's really important, really valuable at this time of year and as a part of the spring transition is to move on to the kind of terrain that you're going to be facing for your challenge. Because the more you can replicate what you're going to experience, the better prepared you're going to be. So in my case, what the spring transition for me means is that I start to move away from my home patch here in the New Forest. I start to move towards the South Downs and train more on the South Downs whenever I can, especially at the weekends when I've got more time and I can do those longer walks. And what that's giving me is more challenging terrain So even though I do have climbs here in the New Forest and the trails can be undulating, so you do get some hill repeat effect, the trails themselves really are quite benign, which is actually one of the reasons why this is just a phenomenal place to first have a go at sport walking. But for me, when I'm preparing for a challenge, I need to be tested more than I can be tested here at home. So wherever it is that you are, wherever it is that you're able to get to, try and seek out more difficult terrain than you have for your everyday walks. I mean, obviously, if you live in the Highlands of Scotland and you've got difficult terrain on your doorstep, don't worry, don't bother, just keep doing what you're doing. But for most people, you know, if you can make that transition onto tougher trails, more demanding terrain, combining that with more focused work, more targeted work, more structured work, you really are going to start to kick in with your fitness and your resilience and your capability ready for your challenges. Now, we're nearly at Little Cairngorm, as I call it. I feel like I've really overhyped this Little Cairngorm, but you're about to see it, so don't disappoint me. Look impressed. Are you ready for this? I'm losing my confidence. I don't care. It makes me think of the Cairngorms anyway. Right, here we go. You're thinking, that's just the New Forest, Roger. Yeah, okay. Right, just imagine, just picture it, okay? It's the pine tree, all right? It's the pine tree, that's what does it. Ta-da! Impressed? Yeah. Oh well. Maybe from the other direction, from the other side. Look. You see, look from that side. It does look a bit more Cairngorm-like, doesn't it? You know, if you close your eyes. I mean, yeah, if you close your eyes and stop looking at the thing that I'm trying to show you and imagine the Cairngorms. There you are. So we're coming back up onto the ridge now, and let's just turn around and have one last look. You see, that takes a bit of beating, I think. Well, I'm nearly back at the car, so I'm going to say goodbye. Hope you've enjoyed this little tour of the Wilverley Enclosure. It's one of many and they're all different, but I think for me, this one has got so much potential from a sport walking perspective. It's one of my favourites anyway, so I hope you enjoyed it. But anyway, until the next time for another Sport Walk Trail blog, enjoy your sport walking and I'll see you again very soon.